Hello, my dear real lifers. Finally, we're bringing you one of the most requested lessons on this channel, The Simpsons. Get ready to have a good laugh and learn some advanced English vocabulary and pronunciation. So to give you guys some context, Homer just had a meltdown. He's a diehard fan of his hometown football team, the Springfield Adams. Imagine his frustration when he discovers that his son Bart has been secretly rooting for the Adams' biggest rival, the Boston Americans. To teach Bart a lesson and to show him how awful Boston is, Homer is dragging the entire family on a hate-cation, ready to prove to Bart that the city stinks. If you are new to this channel, our method is really simple. First, you'll watch the scene with the subtitles, and then you will learn all of the most important vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And finally, you will test your comprehension by watching the clip one more time without subtitles. Now, before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and bell down below to never miss any of our newest lessons. Because every single week on this channel, we help learners just like you understand your favorite movies and TV series without getting lost, without missing the jokes, and without subtitles. So now, let's explore Boston, Massachusetts.
Boy, notice how Bostonians aren't exactly ugly, but they're not sexy either.
Homer, your negative attitude is ruining this hate-cation.
So, what to hate first? The Freedom Trail? The touch tank at the New England Aquarium? Ooh, that could blow.
I want to go to Southie. That part of town has the towniest townies of any town.
You think your Bostonians are so great? Watch as your beloved hooligans tear your innocent father limb from limb with just the slightest provocation. Listen up, you clam-gargling tea-tossers! Fenway is a terrible ballpark!
Dad, don't! Out of my way, ladies. You're blocking my shot.
The seats at Fenway Park are too narrow, and many of them face center field. It's not charming, it's a teardown.
The bobbleheads! They're tipping! Kid, mind the cut!
The what?
The cut!
The cut? Cut!
No, don't struggle. It only makes them bubble harder.
They keep coming. Bobblehead Stephen Wright. Bobblehead Amy Mann. Bobblehead Belle Biv DeVoe.
The vibrations are killing him.
Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm a doctor.
I'm also a doctor, kid.
So many doctors.
Boy, notice how Bostonians aren't exactly ugly, but they're not sexy either.
Oh, right, so Bostonians. Who are they, those Bostonians, Ethan?
Bostonian is a person from Boston.
Would you say like you most commonly use like I'm from Boston or a Bostonian, which is the preferred way?
Probably say I'm from Boston, but there would be cases where you'd say that, like they did here, people from Boston, Bostonians. It's easier, right?
Mm-hmm. I know other variants are like New Yorker, then Parisian. And preparing for the lesson and checking the vocab, I found this funny name for people from Los Angeles. And I wanted to ask, is Angelino? Is that true?
I've never heard that term, but maybe someone from Los Angeles could better confirm whether or not that's something they say there.
Angelino. Yeah, Angelina Jolie. I also thought of that. Okay, so let's explain the word either here. First of all, it has double pronunciation, like both pronunciation are correct. You can say either or you can say either. I believe American way is either, right? Either would be more British.
It could also depend on the part of the United States.
But when do we use either, Ethan?
When you're comparing two things. So in this case, Homer said that they're not ugly, but they're not sexy either. So he's saying they're not one thing and they're not the other. And you can also use the negative, like they're neither sexy nor ugly.
Yeah. So these are two pairs, either or either or, and neither nor, neither nor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey.
Homer, your negative attitude is ruining this hate-cation.
So, what to hate first? The Freedom Trail? The touch tank at the New England Aquarium? Ooh, that could blow.
Nice. This is a made-up word, isn't it? Like hatecation.
Yeah, in fact, this is the first time I'm hearing it. There was another invented term, so we like to invent these sort of words in English, that became popular during COVID, and it was staycation, because we couldn't travel like we normally would. So a lot of people chose to do a staycation, and even hotels would offer special packages for this. So for example, we were able to stay at one of the nicest hotels in Barcelona because during COVID, they offered a staycation package where it was like 50% less than it would normally cost to stay in that hotel. So we got a 5-star experience at a 3-star cost, maybe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So it comes from vacation. And then the first part is like from stay in the country, staycation, compared to going abroad. And in this case, it's hatecation. So probably because the context, Homer wants to prove to Bart that Boston is,
The Boston blows.
Boston blows. He uses
That's something
this
else
word.
he used, right?
Yeah. So he drags the whole family to hatecation. Yeah.
I can't imagine doing that. It sounds just awful.
Yeah. So could you explain? You already started explaining that to blow. When something blows, it's an informal slang way to use this verb to blow.
Yeah, it could even be maybe a little bit vulgar. So it's the same. Many learners might have heard something sucks, something stinks, just meaning that it's negative, it's bad. So it blows, it sucks, it stinks.
So, what to hate first? The Freedom Trail? The touch tank at the New England Aquarium?
He mentioned this touch tank. What is it?
That's not such a common phrase, but what I believe it is, I've been to SeaWorld, for example, when I was younger, and they have a touch tank, if I remember correctly, which is a place where there's certain non-dangerous sea animals. So, for example, manta rays or turtles, and it's a shallow tank with the top is open, so you can actually go stick your hand in and feel the different animals that are swimming about there. So it's a touch tank. A tank is an aquarium, and that you can touch the different animals in there.
I saw that like in the movies or documentaries or those tour guides, but I've never been to any of those. It should be so much fun. Like,
fun
or
for
not
kids.
fun, but like, yeah, fun for kids. It's so
It's interesting, yeah, because they have strange textures and so on. That's what I remember.
I want to go to Southie. That part of town has the towniest townies of any town.
Southie. Again, it's like an informal way, a colloquial way to name the south of Boston or South Boston. And townie. What is a townie, or who is a townie?
Yeah, I believe it's not that common of a term, so it's interesting that he's interested in seeing the townies. But it comes from town, so a town is like a small city, right? So what I imagine it is a bit like, we have a term like a redneck, which is like someone from the countryside who's not very educated. It might be something kind of similar, like a working class person who's maybe not so educated and is a bit impolite or a bit rough in their mannerisms.
I want to go to Southie.
I spot a connected speech here. So instead of I want to Southie, Bart says I wanna to Southie. Yeah, it's like a very common pattern. I want to turns into I wanna.
You think your Bostonians are so great? Watch as your beloved hooligans tear your innocent father limb from limb with just the slightest provocation.
Okay. Here I also noticed this interesting pronunciation of the word beloved, which may be a trip for many learners. So when we use the verb love in the past, so we say loved. So there is no E sound. But in this adjective, in this word beloved, we actually should pronounce the sound E. So don't be confused. I loved it. No E sound, but beloved with the E sound here.
Watch as your beloved hooligans tear your innocent father limb from limb with just the slightest provocation.
Do you want to explain this idiom? Tear somebody limb from limb.
Yeah, so our limbs are the parts of our bodies that come off of the main part, like our arms and legs, basically that. And if you tear someone limb from limb, you could think quite graphically that someone was having their arms and legs pulled off of them violently. So he's saying that these hooligans are, for example, we'll hear a lot soccer hooligans, like these people who get in fights and stuff to defend their soccer team or their local team that they support. And so he's saying that these are rough and people who are easily provoked and like to get into fights, and that they're going to tear him limb from limb with just the slightest provocation. If you provoke someone, it's like you do something to make them angry, to get them emotional. And slight is a very small amount. So he's saying even with just provoking them a very small amount, they're going to go crazy and tear him limb from limb.
Yeah. Another like interesting part here, tear. I would confuse it with tear because the spelling is the same, but those are two different words, right? So tear is what appears when we cry, right, in our eyes. But tear is what you said. It's just like pull apart something violently.
Yeah, or like paper, you tear paper like this, yeah.
And limb, yeah, it has silent B at the end.
Good
So it's
point.
not limb, it's limb, right?
Listen up, you clam-gargling tea-tossers! Fenway is a terrible ballpark!
Dad, don't! Out of my way, ladies. You're blocking my shot.
That was not a slightest provocation. He was really, really rude.
Clam gargling tea tossers. Not a common insult.
What type of animal is a clam?
So I can take a shot also at, because he's inventing these insults, so trying to see what this is reflecting culturally, I can take a shot. But a clam is similar to an oyster. It's one of these shellfish that has a shell and there's a soft part on the inside. And we also eat these. I believe he might be saying clam gargling, which gargle is what we do, for example, when we use mouthwash after brushing our teeth, and we do this sound where we release the air and it makes a gargling sound like.
And it sounds like gargling. So I think it was like named after the sound, actually. Yeah.
Exactly. It's one of those great words like that. Because in the Northeast, which is called New England of the United States, there's a dish that's very common called clam chowder, which is a creamy soup made with clam. So I'm guessing maybe it's because they eat a lot of clam chowder in Boston that he's saying clam gargling. And tea tosser, because Boston is also very famous historically for the Boston Tea Party, which is during the American Revolution. This might have even, if I am remembering correctly from my history class, it sort of was one of the initial things that started the revolution, was that they imported tea from England. And so some of the revolutionaries went onto a British ship and threw all of the tea overboard into the Boston harbor, which basically was provoking them because there was a lot of money that all of this tea was worth.
So much tea spoiled, but I think the fish had a bowl, tea party, a huge tea party.
Fenway is a terrible ballpark!
Dad, don't! Out of my way, ladies. You're blocking my shot.
Fenway is a really famous ballpark. So a ballpark is a place where baseball is played, and Fenway is where the Red Sox, which is one of the most famous baseball teams, plays there in Boston.
Interesting. And by the way, have you noticed the connected speech here? So Bart says, out of my way, but he pronounces it like, out of my way, ladies. You're blocking my shot. Yeah.
That's a good one because you can use it in all sorts of different situations. For example, we're out of milk. So it's a different meaning because you're saying that it finished, right? Where in this case, he's saying out of my way, meaning, make space so that I can pass. But we use the same connected speech pattern in both cases.
The seats at Fenway Park are too narrow, and many of them face center field. It's not charming, it's a teardown.
Something is about to happen. Let's first define the word. So he says that it's a tear down. What does it mean in this context?
I'm guessing that he means basically it's something that needs to be demolished. So you could have a old house that's really ugly on your street or something. You could say that place is a tear down, meaning that you can't just remodel it. It just needs to be completely demolished and to start from zero.
It's time to get rid of it, kind of replace it. Actually, this fact he's saying here that they face the central field, it's a good thing, right?
No, not in baseball.
No.
Center field
I'm terrible at baseball.
Yeah.
Know nothing
I am
about
too.
games.
Like you want to face the bases, probably, if you're watching a baseball game, not the center field or the outfield.
The seats at Fenway Park are too narrow, and many of them face center field.
Again, here we see the connected speech. So he says, many of them face center field. He reduces completely off. So we only hear many of them. Many of them. And by the way, I think I heard that he dropped the sound T in the word center. He said center field. Yeah.
That'd be really common, right? Like in international or internet, that when we have this NT, oftentimes we just pronounce the N.
The bobbleheads! They're tipping!
Kid, mind the cat!
The what?
The cat!
The cut! Cut!
God. I see that there was a confusion probably related to the accent, to the Bostonian accent.
Yes.
Can you talk about this?
Boston has an infamous accent. They have a very strong and very difficult to mimic accent that not all Bostonians have. I think people just from like a certain area tend to have this strong accent. So maybe we can give some examples, but people might know some famous actors like Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, that all are native Bostonians and have this very distinct accent. Or they might have seen movies like Good Will Hunting, The Departed, Ted, that all of these movies take place in Boston, and so you can hear this accent. It has many features that are similar to British English, like this non-erotic R. So instead of saying cart, most Americans would say cart with that strong rhotic R. But this man with his Bostonian accent said cot. So
Cot.
Homer hears cot like C-O-T, which is a type of bed. I think this is, for example, what they sleep on in the military. Instead of having like a proper bed, they have cots. So he doesn't see any cot. Even that sounds British when you say mind something. So this sounds very, very Boston. Mind the cot. And Homer
Mind the
doesn't
cot.
understand it until it's too late. But we would probably say in the States more, watch out, be careful.
But watch out is more informal, right? You wouldn't hear like as a formal warning, but watch out is something you would hear in this case exactly when like those bubbleheads were falling on him. By the way, what are bubbleheads? Like our viewers could see what bubbleheads are. Yeah, those are like tiny toys. Most of the time, those are famous people. And here you could say maybe another variant of those bubbleheads in the cars. They would place it on the panel.
Yeah.
In the car. And when you drive, it's like Bob's the head. Yeah.
The head's doing like a yes or like a no, maybe all the time, right?
No, don't struggle. It only makes them bubble harder.
They keep coming. Bobblehead Stephen Wright. Bobblehead Amy Mann. Bobblehead Belle Biv DeVoe.
The vibrations are killing him.
Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm a doctor.
I'm also a doctor, kid.
So many doctors.
We didn't explain about the bobblehead that this comes from, because we hear Lisa here now saying, don't struggle, it only makes them bobble harder. So this movement is bobbling, like when something sort of has this rhythmic up and down movement that it bobbles. Like another place you might hear that is when you see seagulls, for example, or seabirds on the sea, and with the waves, they sort of bobble on top of the waves. We also saw he's seeing all the different famous people on the bobbleheads. I'm guessing they're all Bostonians, famous Bostonians.
Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm a doctor.
I'm also a doctor, kid.
And I liked this at the end. We had a very strong Boston accent again with the, don't worry, sweetheart, I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor. I also like hear that they pronounce the doctor not like I would usually hear it, like not like you would pronounce it. Yeah, like doctor, like doctor. I'm a doctor.
It's not quite British either, right? It's the vowels are also, I don't know, more open. Me doctor.
The vibrations are killing him.
So she drops the H in him. So instead of they're killing him, she says they're killing him.
He's got a Pedro lodged in his airway. He'll be fine, ma'am. And because of our state's super socialized healthcare, no matter how much your husband abuses his body, someone else will pay for it.
What a relief for women with hot-tempered, accident-prone husbands.
Oh yeah, we got a whole surgical center for injuries from falling off icy roofs and gutters.
So many doctors.
He's got a Pedro lodged in his airway. He'll be fine, ma'am. And because of our state's super socialized healthcare, no matter how much your husband abuses his body, someone else will pay for it.
When something lodged, I understand from the context, it's stuck. In this case, one of the hats from these bubblehead toys stuck in Homer's throat.
In his airway, she even said, which is the path to his lungs.
I'm curious, is there any collocations with the word like lodge?
Yeah, you can have something be lodged in your memory, meaning that it's stuck in your mind.
That's a beautiful way to say that. It's lodged in your memory. Nice. So it's an alternative to it's stuck in my memory.
Like, hopefully, if you use the flashcards on the Real Life English app, all of the new advanced words that you're learning today will be lodged in your memory. You'll never forget them. So they're readily available to you when you get into a conversation.
Nice. She says something about their healthcare, that it is super socialized. Super socialized healthcare would be like government provided. Yeah. So
Right.
government will pay for your medical care. Is that
Which
correct?
is very common, right? In Europe, most countries have social healthcare. But in the States, it's something that is very novel and even that many people are very adamantly against. They don't want to have socialized healthcare because they don't feel like they want to have to pay for other people's healthcare.
No matter how much your husband abuses his body, someone else will pay for it.
There's also some really nice kind of speech here, Ksenia. So oftentimes with pronouns like him, her, his, her, them, for example, we will drop the beginning of it. So we have is, im, and that's the case here. That we have abuses his body, that we drop the H in his and all of it links together. So abuses his body.
What a relief for women with hot-tempered, accident-prone husbands.
Oh my God, what a sentence.
We use this phrase, what a relief, just to say that something makes you feel at ease without worry. And so she's saying that this fact that they have socialized medicine in Boston is something that really makes someone like her feel at ease because she has a husband who is hot-tempered, meaning that he's easily angered, and accident-prone, which if you're prone to something, it means that you are likely to be affected by that thing. So likely to have an accident in this case.
Yes, so you can either use like accident prone, or I don't know, mistakes prone, I don't know, injuries prone, or you can change it to prone to accidents, prone to making mistakes.
Oh yeah, we got a whole surgical center for injuries from falling off icy roofs and gutters.
Okay, gutters. I think those are things which are for rainwater in the streets, right?
Exactly, in the street, and on the house you have the gutters on the roof that will collect rain. But probably the reason she's saying this is because people have to go up and they have to clean out leaves after the fall because it will get blocked otherwise. And so this is humorous here because they have a center that's just for people who have these accidents from falling off an icy roof or, you know, maybe while they're cleaning their gutters.
But I wanted to ask you actually here, would it be a different meaning, or is there any slight difference between to fall off the roof and to fall from the roof?
I think it's just very slightly different because if you fall off the roof, you're just saying that you were on the roof and you fell off. If you're saying you fall from the roof, it's sort of emphasizing that the height of it. So you fell from the second story, you fell from, you know, the top of the building, you fell from the roof.
So it wouldn't be a mistake, right? To say I fell from the roof. Yeah, they're basically the same. And I like this word icy. It's not such an advanced vocabulary, just a good reminder for our learners that you can easily form the adjective from the noun by just adding suffix y. So ice, icy, rain, rainy, sun, sunny. Guys, if you can think of any other examples like that, you can always put them in the comments to just like practice, to have some deliberate practice with grammar on our channel. So guys, thank you so much for learning with us. We believe that was a super rich lesson today with a lot of advanced vocabulary and a lot of pronunciation to practice. Remember to use shadowing method. Just put on pause, rewind, and repeat after us or after the Simpsons. And now it's time for a test. Now you'll watch the same scene one more time, this time without subtitles.
Tipo boy. Notice how Bostonians aren't exactly ugly, but they're not sexy either.
Homer, your negative attitude is ruining this hatecation.
So, what to hate first? The Freedom Trail? The touch tank at the New England Aquarium? Ooh, that could blow.
I want to go to Southie. That part of town has the towniest townies of any town.
You think your Bostonians are so great? Watch as your beloved hooligans tear your innocent father limb from limb with just the slightest provocation. Listen up, you clam-gargling tea-tossers! Fenway is a terrible ballpark!
Dad, don't! Out of my way, ladies. You're blocking my shot.
The seats at Fenway Park are too narrow, and many of them face center field. It's not charming, it's a teardown.
The bobbleheads! They're tipping!
Kid, mind the cut!
The what?
The cut!
The cut? Cut!
No, don't struggle. It only makes them bubble harder.
They keep coming. Bobblehead Stephen Wright. Bobblehead Amy Mann. Bobblehead Belle Biv DeVoe.
The vibrations are killing him.
Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm a doctor.
I'm also a doctor, kid.
So many doctors. So many doctors.
He's got a Pedro lodged in his airway. He'll be fine, ma'am. And because of our state's super socialized healthcare, no matter how much your husband abuses his body, someone else will pay for it.
So thanks again, and please remember to review all these advanced words and expressions on our Real Life English app. And by the way, you'll be able to rewatch the lesson there inside the app. It's very convenient. And if you feel like staying on YouTube for a little bit longer today, why don't you check out this lesson next?
What do you know? It scares little kids and little monsters.
I wasn't scared. I have allergies.
Sure.
Hey, Randall, save it for the scare floor, will you?
I'm in the zone today, Sullivan. Gonna be doing some serious scaring, putting up some big numbers.
Wow, Randall, that's great. That should make it even more humiliating when we break the record first. Ha ha!
Shh. Do you hear that? It's the winds of change.